What's up, guys? Back for another Honkai Star Rail video. In this video, we're going to be going over the new pure fiction that's going to drop very soon. Should be out in most versions and should be out pretty soon for global version, or sorry, the American version. Been looking at a lot of Dokkan stuff, right? Super Dragon Ball Hero stuff going out, very hype. Anyway, we're gonna go over what the buffs are and then talk about units you can use and then teams you can use for it. Before we get into it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and always, and we'll hop into the video. Also, I should have my first clear up in the morning, and then I'll have the budget teams. I know I've been kind of straying like a little bit from budget teams, but luckily with pure fiction, it is a lot easier to be getting away with just using mostly 4 stars. But let's talk for another video. Let's jump into it. Increases dot damage taken by enemy targets by 35%. Enemy targets that receive dot have their damage dealt reduced by 35% after they attack. Their action is advanced forward by 35%. Pretty much meaning you attack, you inflict them with dot, and then they act really quickly. They take a bunch of damage from dot and they die. Pretty easy, right? The 3 equipable buffs are going to be Gimmick, which increases all allies units break effect by 30%. When breaking enemy targets, all enemy units become afflicted by wind shear. Taking a set amount of wind dot at the start of every turn, all enemy units become immune to crowd control debuffs. So that's cool, right? So you can't like freeze them or whatever. Doesn't really matter, just for the break units, right? Then we have Drunk Talk. After an ally target uses their ultimate to attack enemy targets, if the target currently has 1, 2, or 3 types of dots, each currently active dot immediately deals damage equal to 60, 100, 150 of the original damage. Then the last one is Rumor. After an ally unit attacks enemy targets, inflict wind shear on the target, causing targets to take a set amount of wind dot at the start of every turn. Pretty much the last one is just so you can use generic teams. Now, in terms of who you should be using, we're going to go over who I think is just good overall in like pretty much every single pure fiction, and then some characters that you can use on the other modes, and then for the first fight and second fight, what characters should you be using. So first things first, the good units that you will pretty much always be using. First things first, let's put Kafka and Black Swan and good overall, just because they are the 2 main dot units. They could pretty much just do this on pretty much everyone. You're going to use them on Drunk Talk, right? Because it's just further increasing dot, but they are just good overall for this one. Then we have Himiko, we have Herda, self-explanatory. Argenti, where is Jade at? Jade, it's going to be really good. Then for supports, Robin, incredibly good team-wide buffs. Run May is going to be good for team-wide buffs. Very good sustains are, of course, going to be Venturine for damage and, attacking ultimate, all that good stuff. Am I missing her? Linxia, I mean, she's basically a break DPS all on her own. Fushuan is going to be pretty good as well for this one. Then Sparkle is also very good. I mean, she's overall really good. And then Huohuo is also getting very good because, she's very good with the dot characters, right? Other than that, let's go into the gimmick one. The gimmick one is going to be break characters. These break characters are going to be Rappa, as Rappa is the break perfection unit. Harmony MC, obviously. Gallagher is going to be good for this one as well. And then Firefly. The reason Boot Hill is not here because unfortunately Boot Hill is single target and this is pure fiction, so it doesn't really clash too well, unfortunately. Then in good old Drunk Talk, you want characters who use their ultimate. Now Akron is going to be really good on this one because you want to run dot characters. When dot characters apply a debuff, Akron gets a charge for ult. You ult and then you get the big bunch of damage from all the dots activating, right? So Akron's going to be good in this one. Kafka and Black Swan obviously are going to be really good as well. Jiaoqiu is going to be pretty good because he applies a burn. Actual Discord jump scare. It's muted for you guys, but that actually scared me. Then we have, where is good old Sampo is going to be solid for this one. Pretty much any character who just attacks and applies debuffs like Guanifin and Sampo. Servo is going to be good for this one as well. Pretty much characters who apply dots and then ult. There are other characters such as like Himiko and Herta can also make use of this, right? But they're just gonna stay in good overall. Then in Rumor, these characters are gonna be characters who attack a bunch just to apply the wind shear. Funny enough, characters like Fei Xiao, March, Topaz, Yun Li will be pretty solid because there's a lot of characters weak to physical, and then you action advance. You don't got to worry about counter characters breaking the enemy toughness and then making them not attack as much, because you just action advance and then they're good to go. They take a lot of dot and they either die or they attack you and you're good to go. Zayli will be pretty good for this. Pela is going to be really good just because you can easily spam her ult with how much energy she gets from using her skill and whatnot. So I highly recommend using her as well. In terms of the first fights, the fights are going to be against Bronya and Yanqing. For Yanqing, he's weak to, you want to use Wind, Lightning, and Imaginary. And for the first fight, it's Physical, Imaginary, and Fire, right? Let me go ahead and write this down because I actually didn't have all the typings written down on the screen off the side. So let me do that. Okay, so teams I would recommend using for the first one. Obviously, the dot team is probably going to be your best bet running something like this. You can copy paste this team to pretty much any of the two fights if you need to. This team will probably do a bit better in the second one just because Yanqing is weak to both of those. So if you break them, then you just get more dot off and you get more damage, right? And then Yanqing isn't going to, you know, be broken for a ton of time. He'll action advance himself because every time you hit him, he'll action advance. So this team will probably be really good for the second fight, but it should be good enough to work for both of them. In terms of the first fight, though, the Yunli, Clara, where's Clara? Oh, I haven't put it down here. Yunli, Clara also works, right, in the same style as Yunli. Yunli's way better, so Clara might struggle a little bit, but Clara has the full like AoE stuff going for her at least. But Yunli, Clara, and Robin plus a sustain is going to be pretty good for the first half because you are action advancing the enemies. Probably want to put either Ting Yun would be good for them if you for some reason don't have Ting Yun or don't have her built. Another character who does AoEs, hell, probably like even Jade works just because Jade has like a AoE single target or a blast single target if I'm not mistaken, just to action advance the enemies up so they attack into your counter units more. Could be a good strategy, and they're all weak to physical, which would apply bleed, which would be dot, right? So this team would be pretty solid. I'm just going to throw these back up here, so just ignore that. Actually, we'll just put these down here for now so it doesn't get all confusing. Another good team is going to be the Break team. Now, it doesn't really matter which of the two you are bringing. Hell, you could attempt to use Boot Hell, maybe. I don't think it'll work out too well, but the whole Super Break team is going to be pretty damn good here. Throw in Ruin May for our support, obviously. Whether you want to use Rappa or Firefly, they're both weak to it, right? Bronya's weak to Imaginary and Fire, so you're pretty much good to go there. This one should absolutely rip through the competition, especially because one of them is the whole gimmick one, right? And when you break enemies, not only are you applying the burn dot if you're using Firefly, right? You're also able to apply wind shear, so even Rappa can take advantage of, you know, hitting them with, I forgot what the imaginary one is called. I know it slows, but I can't remember. Imprisonment, right? If you inflict it with imprisonment, you're still getting the wind dot buff from this thanks to the gimmick one, so you're good to go there. Then, last but not least, we are going to talk about good old Yanqing. Also, Acheron, since she tears through toughness regardless, you can use her on both fights, you know, with Jiaoqiu and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. Where did Acheron go? She's got eaten. Oh, she's right here. Okay. Then for the second fight, the characters you want to use, you can obviously use the dot team, like I mentioned before. This one is going to be pretty easy. It's pretty much meant for the dot team, whether you want to use like Robin, Ruin May for your support. It's pretty much just these two with whoever you want to bring, and you're good to go. Another team you can try using is actually the Fei Zhao team. You can use it with Topaz, March. Where's Topaz at? She's right here. Pretty much the solid follow-up team. Do note that when you fight Yanqing, his swords are going to have the weaknesses, so you're going to have to deal with that. Or you can just ignore it and just straight up attack him if you really want to, right? I'm missing out on Robin. I keep forgetting to put her up here, right? But the follow-up attack team should do pretty good just because they do a bunch of damage. If you pretty much just hit him once, if you KO opponent and then the follow-up attack hits them, it'll apply wind shear because obviously you're going to be using the whenever you attack an enemy, they apply wind shear. So if you don't take someone out with follow-up attack, they'll just get wind sheared, action advanced up, and they should die in pretty much one attack, especially if you have March attacking with Fei Zhao. I mean, Topaz also works for this too, right? Because you'll have just a bunch of attacks stacking up wind shear, and you'll be good to go there. Another team you could use for the second fight is going to be good old... Actually, I totally forgot to mention this. In fight 1, you could use Herta Himiko because they are weak to fire. So you could, you know, weakness break them with Himiko over and over, and then Herta, you know, spin the wind kind of thing. It's better if both weaknesses are there, but as long as you have one of them going for you, you can use them, right? Most of the time, I do end up recommending Herta having the weakness advantage over them, because when Herta attacks with her skill or does the follow-up and breaks a bunch of enemies, then you will do the follow-up with Himiko, and then as long as your Himiko is built somewhat well, Himiko should half health some of the enemies, which will cause Herta to spin, and her spin really tears through the toughness, and you'll be able to break them, which will cause the Himiko follow-up. But this team should work for the first one, and I feel like just about to mention Argenti and Jade, you know, are still really good. That's why they're in good overall. They'll be pretty good for just doing whatever mode. Unfortunately, with Dot, they aren't going to be like super buffed like they normally are. With, you know, ones where it's like, oh, if you do ultimates or yada yada, or like shatter, I believe, with follow-up attacks, right? But they'll get the job done, right? Anyway, for the second one, like I said, you can use Acheron teams. You could use the Himiko Herta team. You could use Argenti, Jade. A little bit less options, right? You could still use Firefly on this one too, because Firefly implants fire weakness, but you're probably going to be using the break team on the first fight, just because the break team is pretty, I like to say, free to play, because it's really just a free unit, a unit who's been free. Ruin Mei, who has been a very, I wouldn't say important character, I guess, right, to get, and then you obviously just put Rappa Firefly right there, right, and you're good to go. So if you are going to use the break team for phase 2 or fight 2, keep in mind that the first fight is going to be a bit annoying. Other than that, it's pretty much going to be it for the video, right? Pretty much TLDR is going to be use break for the first fight, right? Then use dot or follow up for the second fight, and you're good to go. But like I said, I will have my clear up in the morning, and then I will have the budget team up in the next couple days. So like I said, don't forget to subscribe for that. Let me know what teams you guys are running for this Pure Fiction, and of course, I'll catch y'all in the next one. Thanks for watching.